Hello everyone, it is me, your boy Matsimus. Thank you so much for being here today. We're on another kind of drive along. I'm on an errand today, unfortunately. It's my weekend, but I'm doing a couple of things I haven't been able to catch up with on the week. So here we are, we're cruising down the highway. It is a very, very brisk minus 28 right now. Now, many of you who know hardcore winters may not feel that is that much. You know, you're probably like, it's minus 37 when I am. I get it, like there's colder places, but it's pretty darn cold right now, I won't lie, and it's been about a week and a bit we've had this weather now, and for us here in southern Alberta, we tend to get pretty cold weather in the winter, but this has been a little bit unusual. The last few winters we've had here have been pretty mild, and this one's kind of given us a real kick in the butt. We didn't have cold weather properly until probably end of January, like maybe beginning of February. So to us, it kind of just came out of nowhere. We had plus 10s, plus 9s, and then all of a sudden it was just like bam, minus 28, minus 29, minus 27. It's been pretty intensive, to be honest, on the old British soul of mine, which is really touching on to what we're going to talk about today, which is why on earth did Matsimus move to Canada? Hundreds, if not thousands of you in the comment section have asked this question many times before. And as you can see me being all wrapped up right now for this very, I guess, brutal cold winter weather, may wonder, Matsimus, why on earth did you move to such a cold environment when you come from the UK, which really isn't that cold? Yes, we get a little bit of snow here and there, which for some reason closes down the country, and we get a little bit of rain. Well, we get a lot of rain, but we don't get minus 28, minus 30 weathers. You know, with wind chill, this is looking at like minus 36 weather. So, and you may be wondering, why did you want to move into that? Well, there's a long story, and let me just start from the beginning. So, being that I'm a British Army veteran, in the British Army, before you deploy to anywhere, you have to go on pre-deployment training. Now, it varies between different units, battle groups, and brigades, but for the most part, you must do a training exercise or pre-deployment exercise in BATTers, which is British Army Training Unit Suffield. It is the largest British Army training area that we have, or they have, I guess. Can't really call we anymore now that I'm part of the Canadian Army, but it's the biggest British training area they have, and you must do pre-deployment training there. Now, when I was 19 years old, I deployed, 18, 19 years old, I deployed, I wouldn't say deploy, did training in BATTers. I did it for about 2 months on the ground, which called Medicine Man. It was Medman exercises. They were a lot of fun, very challenging, but an absolute blast. Probably one of the best times of my life, to be honest with you. And that's where I met Mrs. Matsimus. I kind of, settled in with a relationship with her, long distance from there. But I decided upon myself to, regardless of that fact, being with Mrs. Matsimus now, to move to Canada, because I absolutely loved every inch of this country, whether it be the society, the landscape, even the weather that we have. It's all perfect for me. It all just fit. Here in southern Alberta, or in I guess even closer to sort of my area, we have a lot of beautiful opportunities. One of them being the mountains. Now, I love hiking. I love mountaineering. I love getting out into the hills. It is just beautiful to me. It's like soul food. And there's a couple of videos I've done in the past where you can actually see me in the mountains. You should definitely go check them out. They were a lot of fun going into the hills and stuff with those videos. So please go check them out, folks. You'll have some fun watching them. But that's one of the things that when I transitioned into training in Canada, I did adventurous training, which is something that you get to do with the British Army. It's a lot of fun. It's basically free adventurous training, whether it be rock climbing, canoeing, skydiving, blah, blah, blah. They send you on that to get you out your comfort zone, and it is a lot of fun. You're basically being paid to go skydiving, paid to go canoeing or whitewater rafting or whatever else it may be. And when I got that experience here in Canada and went to the mountains, into the Mounties, as we call them, it was, or the Rockies, sorry, we don't call them the Mounties, they're the red police officers dressed in the red hat, due south and all that stuff. We call them the Rockies. The Rocky Mountains, it is just, I can't explain it. If you love the mountains, you'll understand. When I was back home in the UK, I love being in the hills and the mountains. I miss the moors, like Otterburn and the Scottish moors and the Yorkshire moors. I love those areas. Wet, mossy land, it was beautiful. But when you come into the Rockies, it's a whole new world, craggy mountains, beautiful flat landscape, and all of a sudden just whoop into these absolutely beautiful lakes. It was just perfect for me. And I was like, wow, I'm literally in an environment where I can have a big city at my doorstep, not super crowded, not super congested, lots of crime, and on my doorstep, literally on my doorstep, I can go to the mountains and enjoy the countryside. And many, many people agree with me when I say this, that it's almost, and I know this sounds strange, like God's country. You have everything you need without all the hassle that comes with it. Even if you would go to Calgary is a big city, but it's not that big. I know a lot of people say Calgary's huge. Until you go to places like London and big cities in the United Kingdom, you have no say in the matter when saying Calgary or Edmonton are big cities. Yes, they're big, but they're nowhere near the sizes of what I'm used to. And to me, even in southern Alberta, it's nothing. The little towns were just great. They had all the commodities and the amenities that you need to live your life happily and do what you need to do in your life without stressing, the traffic and having access to shopping centers that are not full of thousands of people. So the big part of it was when I came here and I did that adventurous training, I was like, wow, I'm falling in love with this countryside. The countryside alone was just a huge thing for me. I just could not grasp how beautiful it was. So that was the one thing that kind of said, you know what, I'm going to move here. Like, this is, regardless of meeting Mrs. Matsimus, I'm going to move here because it's just so beautiful. And I can, relax. Like, when I was in the UK, I always felt on edge. Even going into the mountains, I felt on edge. I always felt like I had to go back into my car and, to drive home and I have to go through a ton of traffic. I don't have that here. Look at me right now. I am cruising on a straight road, doing 110 kilometers an hour, the speed limit, by the way, with no traffic, no qualms, no worries. Okay, yes, it is minus 28 and there's wind, snow blowing everywhere, which isn't the greatest of things. But I don't have to stress about going back and forth through the mountains. It was beautiful. So that's one of the things. It's really the countryside that kind of settled me in. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I want to move here. Second of all, it's society. Canadian society is incredible. And I'm not trying to make out as if the UK is this horrible, horrible place to live. I have my own personal opinions as to my own home country. I'm a patriot. I love the United Kingdom. I love England. I love Britain. But there is certain things that really tested my patience, tested my moral fiber into living in England. It was very tough for me to see myself raising a family in my local area. I grew up in some pretty rough areas. You may not experience it from my accent that I have, because I know a lot of you are like, oh, Matsimus is a posh accent. Trust me, I've grew up in some pretty gnarly areas in the United Kingdom, and I just couldn't see myself settling there. It was just not a nice environment to be in. And the society there was just really sometimes toxic. Chavs and all that sort of thing. If you know what a chav is, then you know what I'm talking about, and if you don't, look it up. But they're basically people who just, for the most part, aren't really that socially friendly. And I just had enough of it. And when I came to Canada, I didn't experience any of that. There was no solid divides, really, in my eyes, especially coming from the United Kingdom, of people. It was like everybody is a Canadian, and you just got along. Now, I'm not saying British people don't get along, and they're not, integral to one another's upbringing and society, but Canadians, like the simple thing like Tim Hortons, it's really strange. Tim Hortons brings people together, and if you don't know what Tim Hortons is, it's basically a coffee restaurant. It brings people together, old and young, to have a coffee. It's a weird, surreal environment when you see, people just going to a coffee shop to drink coffees on a random weekend, Sunday, weekday. Is like an integral thing, and I know that's a small little thing, but to me it was a big deal. I never had a situation in the UK where someone would say, do you want to go for a coffee to a specific place and hang out and talk for the rest of the day? Like, that doesn't happen back home. You go to the bar and drink beer, and of course Canadians have that too, but it was just nice to have an area of socialization that wasn't about just drinking. You could go and have a coffee, and Tim's, let's go get a Tim's, let's go get a Tim's. It's like a thing here. And in the UK, there was never really anything like that. I was like, let's go get a Greg's, or let's go get a Peter's, which are my favorite things in the UK for pasties and sausage rolls and stuff. Didn't have that back home. You never, let's go for a Starbucks. It wasn't a thing. And hockey, is a big part of that, I think, with Tim Hortons, obviously being Tim Horton, hockey player, all that sort of stuff. But it was really surreal seeing that. And Tim Hortons restaurants are everywhere in Canada, so wherever you go, literally there's probably 15 Tim Hortons in my town of a population of 100,000, which is crazy to me. But the society it just felt more welcoming to me. And maybe that was because I'm an expat and an immigrant and moving, but I just felt more at home. I felt there was that at-home feeling. Whereas the UK, I was always kind of checking my shoulder, and I'd go into bars and feel uncomfortable, and there's always someone wanting to give you the hard time just for being there because you're not part of that local area or not from this place. That doesn't happen here, and if it does, I haven't experienced it. I haven't seen it. Maybe some instances where it's like the extreme, but you just don't get that here. It's very, like, I don't know, very, like I said, welcoming. And that really appealed to me. Like, I didn't have any conflicts with people. I didn't have any interactions that were like, this is awkward, this is not fun, this is not enjoyable. People were just nice. Everybody said please and thank you. That's a little thing, but it's a big thing to me. Like, if I go to a petrol station or a gas station here, and I get gas or petrol, they say hello every time you come through the door. They say thank you, they say please. I have it at every single place I go to, and it's extremely rare that I don't get that here. I go back home, and I'll be like spat on almost by people in gas stations or petrol bars, or like corner shops, or whatever else it may be. I don't get that here. Like, I go into a clothes store here, and they ask you, do you need help? Which, by the way, absolutely drives me nuts. But it's still the principle of them doing it. They're very friendly people here in Canada. We get along. And I'm not saying it's all, kumbaya and we're all perfect here in our beautiful nation of Canada, but we do have, and I feel like there is that more integrity as a community than the UK did. And that, again, was a huge appeal to me. It was like, yes, this is what I want to be a part of. I can see myself raising a family here. I can see myself settling in comfortably. So that was kind of the second thing that kind of brought me to Canada. The third thing that brought me to Canada was the job prospects. Canada has a ton of job prospects. Now, depending on where you are and depending on, the kind of industry or the climate of jobs that you're looking for, it's very subjective, and I understand that. I'm not saying everything is perfect in Canada. I want to reinforce that. I'm not trying to say that Canada is better than the UK. Okay, that may seem like it's coming across that way, but I'm purely answering the questions that you guys asked me as to why I moved here, and I'm giving you the reasons. This isn't Canada is number one and everybody else sucks. I'm giving you just a straight output of what I feel about moving to Canada. So, for jobs, there was a whole host of opportunities. To get skilled immigration into the country, there was a ton of chances for you to get a job, and for me that was like, yes, like, I don't want to move to a new country and have no potential of finding a job. And as soon as I got here, there was a lot of jobs available for me to get, and good paying jobs, like well paid jobs. And I thought to myself, if I was to leave the British Army, which I did prior to obviously moving to Canada, would I get a job in the UK, or even in my last garrison base country, which was Germany? I don't think I would have. I think I would have struggled, and I know I would have struggled because a lot of people that I spoke to when leaving the British Army said the same thing. So the job prospects were out there, there were lots of available opportunities. It was perfect. And finally, I think the culture of Canada. I love the fact that we have so many different backgrounds, and I know the UK does too, but there's some real core backgrounds and cultures that Canada really just is exciting to be a part of. Like the whole cowboy community, or like the country community. I never used to like country music. I despised it. Now I absolutely love country music. I love different types of country music. Is that a cliche to being in Canada and Alberta? Maybe. But I got round to it, and I said, actually, this is actually a really nice culture to be a part of. The countryside community, farming and agriculture, and like getting into the mountains and going like camping and stuff. I never did camping back home. Ever. I would never even dream of doing it. And out here I try and go camping, tent camping, whatever else it may be, all the time. There's nothing more beautiful than firing up a log fire in the backyard with some people, or even going into the mountains, roasting some marshmallows, all that sort of stuff. That stuff in the UK just doesn't happen. And if it does, well, I've clearly been missed out when I was in the UK as a kid or growing up. But just that kind of thing is like bringing out kids in that environment where you can say, do you want to go camping this weekend? And not camping in a camper van. Like, that's not camping to me. Like, camper vans in Wales or camper vans heading out to the Lake District, that was just cringy to me in the UK. But out here, it's like, let's go grab a big old tent, let's go into the mountains, and yes, there's some bears and cougars that could potentially rip my throat out, but that's exactly another thing that's more exciting about being in a country like Canada, is you have that risk factor. Like, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, whether it be the weather or animals or bears. So the culture of, like southern Alberta, where we have this like countryside community and everybody looks after one another, and if you need to move house, 3 people will show up the next day with pickup trucks ready to move your house out. It does not happen back home. You don't have random people from your workplace or strangers saying, hey, do you need a pickup truck for the weekend so you can move your house? I mean, it's incredible, and it's really enjoyable being in that kind of environment and that kind of culture. And also the culture of, we have First Nations culture, which is really fascinating to me. A lot of people, have given me a lot of insight into a whole new world of First Nations and Indigenous people of Canada, and really interesting history and culture. Of course, there is some darker sides to that, which, I'm not going to talk about today. But that was, again, very fascinating to me. And of course, the UK has its own history and its own culture that's just as fascinating. But a lot of them didn't appeal to me anymore. So really, folks, that's the 3 or 4 main big things that kind of made me want to move here. And there are many other kind of side reasons to that. But the primary reason as to me moving here was really I was in the British Army. I trained here in Suffield in Battis. Fell in love with the culture, the lifestyle, and the countryside and the people here, and said, you know what, this is where I want to live. This is where I want to be, and I'm proud to be a Canadian. I'm also very proud to be British, and I want to give back to Canada how much it has given me, because honestly, I can't thank this country and the people around me in my community and culture have helped me be where I am today, because I would not be here today, I don't think, without certain individuals, certain people in the Canadian community helping me out. So thank you to anyone who has, ever helped me to get to where I am. And thank you, Canada, for accepting me into your beautiful country. But that's it for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm almost at my destination, so I'm going to have to say toodaloo. But if you did enjoy today's video, you have any other questions about my background or history or whatever else it may be, leave me a comment in the comment section. I'm more than happy to answer your questions and have a little chit chat with you. If you enjoy these kind of discussions and these kind of dialogues between one another over the, driving or walking with Matsimus and stuff, again, leave me a comment. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and I'll definitely be around to do some more. Thank you again, everyone, for joining me on today's video. Folks, I've been really, really thankful as well for everyone who's been sending me the old P.O. Box mail gifts and things. I'm going to be doing some more unboxing of that in the future. So thank you so much for doing that. It really does mean a lot. If you want to go check out my merchandise store, you can too. And a lot of people have been buying the old t-shirts on the merchandise store. Go check out the description box below. I am on Facebook. I am on Discord. A lot of people have been asking me to play some war game Red Dragon on Discord there. So we're definitely going to be playing a lot more of that too. I am on Facebook, so you can add me and a friend on there. And anyone who's been supporting my Patreon page, thank you so much. My YouTube demonetization has really kind of hit me hard, so I've been trying to kind of just plod along and make some videos as we go until the 23rd, I think it is, of this month, that they're going to try and reinstate my monetization. But for those of you who've been donating towards my Patreon, thank you so very much. I'm blessed to have such a beautiful community that's looking after me in this kind of rough time with YouTube. So thank you very much. And to all of you as a community, thank you for being here today and watching the video. All the best, folks. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.